Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to L.O.G on MYP. This is episode 11, Turnabout. This is the Legends of Grayskull miniseries where we discuss the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe 2002 series from Mike Young Productions. Me and Curtis are going to go episode by episode and discuss all of them until all 39, plus maybe some extras, are done. Curtis, how are we doing today?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Anytime that we're talking Masters, it's good. So
anytime, even Skywar, huh?
Even everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for today, we're discussing episode 11 of the Mike Young Productions He-Man series. This is Turnabout, written by Len Uli, directed by Gary Hartel, and it originally aired on November 15th of 2002, right around Thanksgiving. This episode starts off with no first appearances. Okay. This episode,
well, first appearance of the Diamond Ray of Disappearance.
Yeah, artifact. Yeah. No new characters.
Correct.
So let's get it out of the way right away here. So watching this back on November 15th, 2002. Me, Nick, Cody, we're all sitting there. And this episode starts. We're in that snowy region. They walk, we're following Skeletor, which is kind of a nice fresh breath here. Because usually most of the episodes start with like an Adam, Man-at-Arms, Tila, something, Yep. Okay, we're with the Evil Warriors. We're in the mountains. Okay. They walk in this room. Skeletor says, at long last I found the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. And my mind just blown like,
yep. They show it and we're like, okay, call back. This is, yes.
You can see it in the ice. It is the Diamond Ray. It's the box. It's got the diamond. Yep. It's like,
we're like, okay, game on.
This is what Turnabout's going to be? Oh my God, this episode's going to rock. We're going to do the Diamond Ray. And then they immediately break it.
Not only immediately break it, but also, as Skeletor and the Evil Warriors go into the cave.
Yeah.
The Masters are just waiting there.
Right. They followed them. Yeah.
It looked like they were already there. Like they're just stationary, like around a corner or something. Like they were just sitting there waiting for them to get there.
That could be. I read it that they came like right behind them, like into the entrance. But yeah, either way.
That's not how I got it. I got like they're just sitting there because then all of a sudden, He-Man's like, oh, well, how are you going to use it if it's broken? Like
you came all this way for a broken machine?
Yeah.
Skeletor's like, what? It's not broken. And then He-Man punches the ground and causes an avalanche and it breaks. And I'm just
then it's like, okay, so this thing we just got excited about is no more. Now, if you've never watched Filmation series and you're just watching this and this is your first exposure to Motu, you probably don't even know about it or care.
Nope.
But for those of us that had the previous experience, we're like, this is going to be awesome.
Right.
No.
So this is right up there with the fact that in Skywar, Skeletor mentions loading the ambrosia onto the collector, and then we never see the collector in all the episodes. This is right up there with me with that, like, of disappointments in the series where it's like, why? It's just, I don't know. It's like I appreciate the callback, but at the same time, like, and knowing how powerful the Diamond Ray was in the original series, the fact that an avalanche destroys it is just, it's like I appreciate what you were trying to do for us vintage fans, but no, just no.
it would be the equivalent of like doing a series now and putting Fisto in it and immediately killing him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like don't give us something we want just to immediately like wipe it off out of existence.
Right.
So
it could have even been better if they had just fought over it. And He-Man and company end up getting it before Skeletor had a chance to, and like, oh, we're gonna lock this away in Grayskull.
Or if
where it's like, okay, at least
as they're fighting over it or something, like not just like He-Man just does something that automatically destroys it and now it's done. Like like it it was very intentional that they destroyed it, not something that happened just as a result of whatever was going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
I do need to address something too for this episode, because at first I thought it was just one scene, but then it persisted through most of the episode. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the animation is quite different in this episode from the past episodes. He-Man right off the bat looks like he is Justin Bieber. Like his haircut is not as like poofy on the sides and stuff. It looks like he's got this like, very short haircut. He looks different than he has in any of the other episodes. And even like the faces, like if you look at, they cut after the cave thing, they cut to like them outside of the cave, and they're showing like Ram Man and Tila, like they don't have some of the lines that indicate like their cheekbones and stuff like that. Like it's very basic.
Yeah, the one part I was gonna point out was when He-Man does the it's broken line after he punches the ground. He looks so like traditional anime, where it's like, like that was Luffy, the One Piece pirate, where he just like that big smile and and like you said, like no distinct facial features. It's just those very rudimentary lines.
And there are some parts throughout this, like there was we'll get into it, but as the story progresses, there's certain scenes that it's like, okay, that looks like the animation we've seen for the past 10 episodes. And then there's some animation where it's like, no, this is really dumbed down and not as detailed. It almost looks like a coloring book rather than the animation that we've been seeing for the past 10 episodes. So I don't know if there were different animators on this, if they were in a time crunch.
I'm sure there were
out. I don't know what's going on, but it was so different that it pulled me out of the story for the entire episode. So
there are definitely different animation houses used. That's just how it works. When one gets, it's always your primary animation house, and then like there are these other ones when they're behind schedule. They got to either farm out scenes or sometimes whole episodes. And I mean that's standard across the industry, right? Where we're at and where we were in 2002. So yeah, it's definitely, but those scenes were definitely animated by somebody else. And it's just, I think it's especially jarring to us because like Dragon's Brood, Ties That Bind was really solid. There was another one I know that we commented on recently where it's like, all right, they're really getting the animation. So I think it's just kind of like, so our primary animation house was getting so good and really nailing the looks and getting so tight that then when these other places have to step in now, it's really jarring to us, especially coming right off of, especially.
I mean, the last episode we did was, in my estimation, the best episode of the series so far. And then you go to this and it's like, what happened? It just doesn't look nearly as good. And even some of the transitions, like you said, it doesn't look as smooth. So,
and for me, like this episode has been tainted ever since November 15th, 2002 for me. Like
because of the whole Diamond Ray.
Because of the Diamond Ray. I hate to like, me, I am no like Filmation purist, like where I cannot stand there and say that was like overall the best series of He-Man or whatever. Like it's perfect.
Important though. I mean,
it's important, and it's just.
I mean, I think even the Super 7 Ultimate Skeletor comes with a Diamond Ray of Disappearance because it's so integral to that series.
Yeah, it's such an iconic piece. Yeah. It's an iconic artifact, and just the way it was treated here, and that emotion of like, oh my God, this is where they're going with this episode.
And then
you
it's
know,
no, it's not.
and then it's no relevance. It's just our opening. It's the equivalent of The Office having the cold open that has nothing to do with the rest of the episode is what it is. It's like, even if they had somehow turned it in, like they broke the diamond ray and somehow that like is what made them create the belt, or you know what I mean? Like there was some, and I don't know
connection
how,
to what goes on in the rest of the story, but there's
right.
not. Yeah.
Maybe then at least, but yeah, this episode has definitely been tainted for a long time for me. So, but I guess let's get into the episode. So yeah, the Masters successfully thwart the evil warriors by breaking the Diamond Ray of Disappearance.
Ram Man says something to the effect of, it'd be nice if like Skeletor couldn't be bad or something like that. It's something to that effect. I don't know the exact wording, but it kind of gives a light bulb moment to Man-at-Arms.
And again, it's like, let's just dive into the premise itself, because this isn't a big story. Like, it is a very thin story, and that's another reason I struggle with this episode. Despite there being some good moments, there are some truly iconic moments in this episode, but overall it's a thin. So the idea is Man-Arms is going to create a belt that turns that makes it to. That's the other thing. I always want to say that turns Skeletor good, but it doesn't.
It just punishes him when he's bad or
right.
has
It's a shock collar. Every time he does
basically
something
what it is,
evil, it shocks him, and so then Triclops turns that on its head by going, well, then I'm going to create this harness for He-Man. Every time he does something good, it'll shock him.
Yeah. Which, okay, so here's the part that I have a problem with. The belt that they make for Skeletor, right?
Yeah.
They have to go to the sorceress. She talks about this lake that has this, the last bit of liquid from this lake that can create this thing so that they can make this belt. And I'm like, okay, cool. That explains why we haven't done this before, why we will never see this again, because this is the last of it. Like, she has the last liquid from this lake, whatever. And then turn around and Triclops makes something similar for He-Man without having to need anything. Like, he doesn't need a special ingredient.
Well, no, remember they chip
a little sliver. They chip
a piece off the belt, so it's the same.
But I don't know. I didn't feel like it really said that he used that piece to create the harness.
Yeah.
Is that what you got out of it?
Yeah, he takes that piece and he uses it to make He-Man's harness.
Okay,
so it's the same.
So Skeletor's got the big giant gem and He-Man's just has a little tiny sliver.
Right.
But okay. The other part I had a problem with this is they basically they throw Teela and Prince Adam out as bait to get Snake Mountain out, or to get Skeletor out of Snake Mountain. So they bring him close to Snake Mountain. You're putting the Prince and the Captain of the Royal Guard in jeopardy to draw out, Skeletor, which I don't know that you would do that. I don't know that you'd, especially royalty. I don't know that you would use the royalty as bait.
And here's the thing.
So hold on. That's
ahead.
One part of it. But then their next part of the plan is that they're going to be up above him and have a gun that shoots the belt that just kind of wraps around to Skeletor.
Yes.
What I thought was going to happen to this the first time I saw it was that they were going to manipulate Skeletor into thinking that this was some powerful device that they were going to use, that Man-at-Arms built, and trick Skeletor to putting it on himself.
That would make
I think that would have made a much more interesting story than shooting the belt gun at him.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem that bumps me about it.
Yeah.
So Man-at-Arms is he's very paranoid, but he's a good tactician in this series.
Yes.
Out of all the times that the Masters and Skeletor have gone up against each other, how many times has Skeletor gone out on first offense?
Usually not. He usually
doesn't. He always sends the other guys first until he fully knows the situation, or until he thinks it's time to take the prize or the castle or whatever.
Which is why I thought they would do something like when they were saying, okay, well, this is where we come in. I thought they were going to set up something where they know that maybe a Doomseeker is watching them. And they go, oh, well, this is the way that we're going to defeat Skeletor. We created this belt that gives the user more power than He-Man and all this kind of stuff. and then, basically trick Skeletor into stealing it, putting it on, and then boom.
That
But that's
makes
not
more
what we get.
sense.
Yeah.
Because, by all accounts, everything Man-at-Arms knows and everything we've seen about this Skeletor, you run around Snake Mountain, we'll get Whiplash, you'll get Merman, you'll get Trapjaw, you will get everybody but Skeletor.
Right.
Unless you're like, oh, we need to transport this belt of unlimited strength back to Man-at-Arms. I hope we don't get caught.
Right.
And then even then you'll still get the
Because
lackeys.
even if you get the lackeys, they're going to bring it back to Skeletor and he's going to put it on himself.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But so instead they just shoot him with a belt.
Right.
Luckily he came
a belt
out.
gun,
Luckily
which is very Batman shark repellent, like, we'll just use our belt gun that launches things through all of these bad guys and everything going on, and will land perfectly on Skeletor's waist and wrap around and lock on tight.
Perfect.
Yes.
I think this episode we're probably just gonna end up skipping around because it does not need a scene by scene breakdown. But I do love the scene where, like, well, number one, that lake, that appears only once every 1,000 years. That's obviously a direct reference to the lake from the Filmation episode Secret Liquid of Life with Danavis in it and everything. So again, but here's another nice callback. But like, to me, so like theoretically the episode should have been them trying to find the lake, but instead, again, we're kind of, well, there's this lake that appears only once every 1,000 years, but don't worry, I got some liquid from it.
Yeah. It's
like, well, then it doesn't matter when it appears.
Right. It's just
like,
very...
luckily it's
very
about
lazy
to
storytelling. Like, hey, by the way, there's this lake, but we already got the stuff. Like, you don't need to do that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you could have had a nice quest episode where it's like, okay, we've got 15 hours to find the location of this lake, but whatever.
You do get some comical moments with Skeletor and the Evil Warriors, with him, getting shocked when he's evil or has evil thoughts, and then has to say nice things that he doesn't normally say. But
and before that, just real quick, the point I was getting to was I do always laugh my butt off at the scene where Man-at-Arms is like, and I created this, and he shows the belt, and Adam's like, it's a genius. Skeletor will put that on. He'll be so ashamed to show himself outside because it's hideous, and then we'll never have to deal with him again.
That was funny.
And Orko's like, ooh, good plan.
Yeah.
And Man-at-Arms just is deadpan. That's not the plan, Orko, and Adam knows it. Like,
right.
I'm like,
I like
that.
One of the moments where Skeletor is trying to fake be nice to trick the belt, and he says, "Oh, another inspired invention, Triclops,"
right?
Which he would never say. So there are some funny moments in this, but it feels to me like the writer was like, "Hey, I miss the buffoon Skeletor of Filmation, so let's put in some sort of story element that the shock collar gives a shock every time he's bad, and we'll have some comedy with Skeletor in this episode." And it is comical, but at the same time,
hilarious.
That's not what you've built up through 10 episodes. Through 10 episodes, you've made this the very smart, critical thinking, putting plans together Skeletor, who's going to try to devise a way to win. And now you're like, oh, by the way, there's also this goofy buffoon Skeletor of Filmation, and here it is. It's like a totally different from the other Skeletor that we've had for 10 episodes.
Absolutely. But I can't help but laugh every time.
There are some funny moments for sure.
Are you doing something new with your nails, Evelyn?
Right.
Or even right when he gets the belt on before they realize what's actually happening, and he's like, get them. Oh, no, take them. Get them. Just take me home. Like, what? He just defeated Skeletor is an interesting
there's
concept.
One moment where they're getting ready to attack the Masters because Triclops has got his idea with the harness and stuff.
Yep.
And Skeletor's about ready to explain his plan, and he gets shocked. He gets ready to explain it again. He gets shocked, and he's like, "Leave Evelyn, you just tell him."
Right, you tell him.
Yeah.
And just that exasperated, like, oh my god, I can't take it. Like that's some good stuff there. But other than that, and by the time He-Man gets hit, they go and attack. We get to see the Quadians again, another village of theirs that's being attacked by the Beatles. Those some fun fight scenes with the Beatles.
They're what are they called? Arthros?
Yes, thank you.
To me, they looked like little collector bugs. Like they look like collectors, but in bug form. And I'm like, is this the closest we're gonna get this whole series? We're gonna get these little collector bugs.
Well, it's funny because speaking a little bit ahead, in a later episode, we see the actual like pterodactyl dinosaur that their jet fighter pterodactyls are based on.
Yeah.
So that's a neat call out there. Like, okay, these would be the bugs that Skeletor based the Collector on when he built it. Like all their vehicles are based on these animals.
Yeah,
I like that. But then by the time He-Man gets his on, and every time he's trying to act heroic, it shocks him. Like your episode's basically over by then.
Yeah.
Like it's basically just He-Man.
He's just continuously getting shocked. It's not like Skeletor's where it's like only when he He-Man's just getting shocked the whole rest of the time until Sorceress basically gives him the inspiration to somehow defeat the chest harness, which just so happens to blow up, and the radius also destroys Skeletor's belt.
Right. And then we're back to status quo. It's so. And I was even sitting there, like, it goes quickly, but it's like at the end, it's like that's it, like, because the premise itself to me it's one of those where the premise is more interesting than the actual story, and to me the premise is always what if Skeletor had to be good.
Right.
But that's not really what we get. We get what if Skeletor was punished for being bad.
Right. I think what if Skeletor was good? When I watched this the first time, I'm like, oh, cool. We're going to get Christmas movie Skeletor.
Right.
You know, like that you start to see him actually have a heart and be that guy. But that's not what we get. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really felt that this was the wrong way to take this premise. You, like I said, either you find some way to get some good vibes into him where he's legitimately being good to be good.
Like he can't have evil feelings. Like it's not even possible for him to do. Like it takes that out of him, which is kind of what Ram Man said at first. Like it would be nice if Skeletor couldn't be evil.
Right.
But this isn't making him not be evil. It's just punishing him every time he is.
Right. So. And that's just going to tick him off more. And eventually, once he's off that chain, he's going to be, they're essentially training him to fight in a dog fight. Like, it's not rehabilitating him. It's, The other interesting concept I thought of, because of course, especially with the more lackluster episodes, I like to think of what could be better. But the other concept I thought of was if they had actually pulled a Freaky Friday and had He-Man and Skeletor switch bodies. Like that could have been some fun, to where it's like, okay, Skeletor's good because it's He-Man in there. I don't know if you ever watched Justice League Unlimited, but they did the great brain robbery where Flash and Lex Luthor switch.
I love that one.
That's a fucking great episode, isn't it? Sorry for my.
Good. I love when Lex Luthor's like, he's like, well, at the very least, I could see who his secret identity is, and he pulls off his mask. He's like, I have no idea who this is.
Yes, because that's how it was. Oh, that is my favorite scene from that episode, Curtis.
I love that.
So if that is what Turnabout was, like we could have gotten some great moments. Yeah. And you could have even had that real risk. Because I mean, Lex Luthor isn't going to know who Wally West is.
Right.
But like you had that real risk of Adam sitting there trapped in Skeletor's body in Snake Mountain. And he's like, if Skeletor gets the power knocked out of him in my body, he's gonna become Prince Adam.
Right.
Like then you've got a legitimate threat to where it's like, okay, I gotta get this righted. Like that. I know it's going in a whole different direction, but it's like I think that's what this episode needed. This episode needed a rewrite. At the very least, actually make Skeletor good rather than punishing him for being evil.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like this was a really a wasted episode. You wasted the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. You wasted this idea of Skeletor being good. We got a few laughs in it, but that's about it. To me, it's like an episode of Saturday Night Live. Like I don't watch it anymore, but I used to watch Saturday Night Live, and it was like, I know when I watch this, 90% of this is going to be horrible, but there's going to be a few times throughout it, and I'm going to laugh really hard. And it's like, is that times that I'm laughing worth the other time that I'm spent going, what is this crap?
Yep.
And that's kind of what this episode is. It's like, there's a few moments of laughter, but overall it's not enough to carry the bad writing and bad animation for the entire rest of the episode.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree. So I guess it's time to rank it.
We got the moral.
Oh, sorry.
Or
all right,
the moral,
go ahead.
sorry.
There was a moral, I guess, probably.
The moral, which I don't really feel like really relates to this that much anyway. It says there's no force more powerful than goodness. Kindness helps others and makes you feel good inside. At no point did we see Skeletor feel good inside by doing kindness.
Right.
So to me, the moral doesn't even relate to the episode. So
I think it's piggybacking off because elaborating a little bit more at the end there, that last scene kind of switches to like He-Man and the idea of, can he be good all the time? Like, must he always do the right thing type thing? And I think that kind of plays off of that. But again, that was like the last like 5 minutes, like,
where he saves Skeletor when he could have let him drop, and then Skeletor turns on him and blasts him anyways, and whatever.
Right.
But to me, if that's how you're summing up this episode, that is not like if you told me that at the beginning, like I try to think of the morals, like if you told me that at the beginning of the episode and that's what I should expect, that is not what we got. That is not what that episode was about.
Yeah, so. and that just goes like in the last scene there, they try and change it into can He-Man always do the right thing? It's almost kind of that Superman story, whatever happened to truth, justice, in the American way. Like they try and do like this big like philosophical thing with He-Man that we haven't said. Like, how did we split this onto He-Man now? Like, you would have had to have him more involved from the beginning. Like I said, if it actually been Turnabout, where Skeletor is going to be good and He-Man is going to be evil, and okay, now we can talk about goodness and doing the right thing and everything. But yeah, as it is, I expected something more like, the lesson of you can't always change some people. Like some people just are the way they are, and maybe we either need to accept them for who they are, or maybe they won't be a part of your life. Maybe that's a little too heady for a kid's cartoon, but I think it fits up a bit more with kind of what they were trying to do with Skeletor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that if they did it to where somehow Skeletor had to be good, or it took away any evil bone in his body,
right?
No pun intended. And made him be good. I think you could have got some more insight to his character. Like maybe, he ends up having a conversation with He-Man or Man-at-Arms or whatever, and now he doesn't have that scheming evil mode to him, and he can just talk about why he's so frustrated with Randor and the Eternia and what his problem is from the time he was Keldor till now. Like, what is his issue? And I think it would have given some more insight to the audience as well as the masters on who Skeletor is and what his motivations are, which would have furthered the story a little bit, but we don't get any of that. It's just, some buffoonery and, similar to the, couple episodes ago where I was like, okay, this isn't really too much of an enjoyable episode and it doesn't further the story.
Yep.
That's where I'm at with this one. Like it definitely doesn't further the story.
No,
there's a few moments of laughter, but overall the story is not a good standalone episode. So
no. And
yeah.
All right. Our power sword ranking. We've got 3 power swords as the very best of the best. We got 2 power swords. That's an above average episode. We got 1 power sword. That is a good episode. We got the Cosmic Enforcer. That's right down the middle. Neither good nor bad. Then we got our Havoc Staffs. 1 Havoc Staff is bad. 2 Havoc Staffs is worse. 3 Havoc Staffs. This episode should be banished to Despondos, never to return. Curtis, what is your power sword ranking?
It's not good, but it's also not. There were some moments that I laughed, and it felt, very Filmation-y to me. I think I'm gonna have to go 1 Havoc Staff. It's
All right.
definitely not good, but it's not bad enough, I think, to be 2 or 3. I'm gonna give it 1 Havoc Staff.
Okay.
I would not recommend. We were saying on the last one, Dragon's Brood, that we would kind of recommend to somebody if they were only going to watch 1 episode of this. What is the one? That's one we would recommend. This would be the lowest one that I would recommend so far out of the ones that, this does not tell you what the series is going to be like.
Right.
So
I definitely struggle with this one. When it's funny, it's funny. But it's one of those, the more times I watch it, the less I enjoy it.
mhm.
No, I think I got to give out my first Havoc Staff after this rewatch. I think before this, I was probably about a Cosmic Enforcer, where I felt it balanced it out. Like the funny parts were funny enough to keep in the neutral territory to me, but now it's finally dropped, and I think it's just one of those things where the more I watch this, the less I'm gonna like it. This is probably one where, like, future rewatches, I would probably skip over it, honestly. Like,
I know, like in the early 2000s, they started doing these things where, like, if you wrote a series, right?
Yeah.
Just like a sitcom or sci-fi show or whatever, typically every season you would have 1 episode that was like a recap show where
Yes.
there was a little bit of a story to it, but you were just showing some flashbacks of previous episodes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was
the clip show.
Yeah, it was a way to have like a filler episode that, increases your number of episode count, but really, we know this isn't really adding anything to the story.
Well, and
That's what it feels like. This
it was a tool to, like, you knew you had
there. Yeah.
You had a big season finale coming up, right? Where
Yeah.
you knew you needed more money than you had for that episode.
Right.
So then you use the clip show, so you're not spending money on this episode, or you're spending a fraction of it, and then you can take that leftover and you can throw it at your season finale because you've got to build the Fortress of Solitude or whatever. Like,
And it feels like that's what this is. Like the animation's poor,
Yes.
the writing's poor. It just feels like the main crew were like, hey, we just made it through 10 episodes. Episode 10, Dragon's Brood, was absolute fire. We're getting ready for the midpoint of the year. B team, go ahead and put an episode together for us. And it was like the B team of animators, the B team of story writers is like, okay, throw something together. We don't care what it is. It doesn't have to relate to anything that's happened so far. And, let's see what happens.
I'm trying to see, because I know Len Uli. I know we've had that name already on the series. I don't know if there's a great way to bring up just
I wish that we had a spreadsheet going of each episode with our ratings.
I've actually got it in a couple places. I do need to get it in front of me every episode, but yes, I have been working on building that. That's always been my intention.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I just don't have,
because that'd be cool to look back on. So like this, if you found out, oh, well, he also did this episode. What were our ratings on that episode? Okay, well,
right.
He's just terrible, or whatever.
Yeah, I can't. I know we've said that name before. So yeah, I would definitely have to start doing that.
Well, this was one of our shorter recaps, mostly because there's not much of a story.
Yeah,
but I mean, hey, maybe the folks out there that are watching this or listening to this think that we're wrong. If you think we're wrong, definitely throw something in the comments. Let us know what you enjoyed about this episode.
Yeah.
If you're with us and you really didn't enjoy this, let us know that too. So
So actually, I guess he hasn't come up yet, but he will come up. So it says he's got Turnabout and he's got Orko's Garden, which is episode 19. So we
be
will
prepared
see
for
from
that,
him
folks.
again. Yeah, it'll be interesting to compare then. Like I said, I don't want to completely dismiss this episode because the funny parts are funny, but it's especially on this rewatch, watching it right after all these banger episodes, like it's definitely a step down.
Yeah.
And trust me, I did not give my Havoc staff lightly, but it was definitely earned in this episode. All right, so next up we've got, I think we're up to Mechanix Lament, but I went off my page to look up Len Yulee.
I can't go by what Amazon tells us because it's been wrong a couple times. So
yeah, so far it's just been those two, which I found funny because when I went to play Dragon's Brood today, it does say the ties that bind on the main screen, but then when you play it, it plays Dragon's Brood.
Right.
So
yeah, it looks like Mechanix Lament is next, episode 12.
Episode 12. All right, guys, we thank you for coming along with us. Like Curtis said, sound off in the comments below. Send us an email at logpod85@gmail.com if you're not on the YouTubes. Hit all those buttons, share us with your friends, and until next time, go watch Mechanic Lamenting.
Oh, come on.